that's connected with wealth, finances, etc., from the Bible, and a lot of what we've read so far has to do with integrity and using wisdom and common sense that God has given us, and be courageous enough to do what's right, you know. And basically, in my way of thinking, it's do unto others as you would have them do unto you, as well as mixed in with wisdom. So it's treating other people right and being wise. And he says it a lot in Proverbs in many, many ways. And so we are on chapter 10 in Proverbs. And I want to start with verse 4. Do y'all like to participate where I let everybody do turns in reading and commenting? Okay. Well, how about if I bring this long cord for you girls to share, and Dave's got a mic up there by him somewhere, and I'll go get the one Chuck used to use and that Josie was using a minute ago. I think I've crocheted the cord. Make it easier to pass the wand. the microphone. I'll tell you what, I'm pulling the Chuck. I must have been, I was married to him almost 33 years. There's bound to be some left over of his mannerisms working in me. Okay. That'll work. I'll give the mic to you first. Do you want one of the little stools? Yeah, these. Go get it. Oh, Josie's gonna be. She's gonna get it for you. I'll wait until she gets one. That helps, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Thank you for being so thoughtful. Thank you. I'm gonna let you have the mic first because I'm gonna pick on you first.
Proverbs 10, you said, right?
Proverbs chapter 10, and I need. Okay. Okay. And let's see. Let's start with verses 4 and 5. Did you find it, Miss Reva?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to let you see if, would you read 4 and 5 for me, please?
Okay. He becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich. Verse 5. He that gathereth in summer is a wise son, but he that sleepeth in the harvest is a son that causeth shame. In other words, he's dumb.
Right, right. Do you have some more comments about that before we go any further?
Let's see, the first one. He that dealeth with a slack hand, which means he's not getting out and doing it. But the hand of the diligent maketh rich. So you have to get out and work for it, and see, you can't lay around and keep your hands slack and
That's right.
make anything. And verse 5 is, we gathereth in summer is a wise son, but he that sleepeth in the harvest is a son that causes shame.
Right.
And that pretty well says what
it means,
what
huh?
it means.
Josie, you or Dave have any comments? She's trying to hand you the mic, Miss Josie. I don't know if you have any comments or not. I have a comment, but I was going to let y'all comment first.
I guess it's you got to use your head, because in summer, you can gather your harvest, and you got to work hard, and in or you'll get, you won't get any food or whatever.
Right. Do you have anything, Dave?
Well, those who say there's nothing to do, there's no excuse to be bored.
There's plenty to do, isn't there? Well, one of the things I got out of it is you have to be consistent, diligent, determined, and you also need to be timely. Because if you don't do things, if you try to harvest it before the fruit or the vegetables are ripe, that's not going to work. Or if you wait until they rot on the vine and then try to harvest them, that's not going to work. So a wise person will be prosperous by doing things the right way and in a timely manner and working hard. God meant for us to work, and it's good for us. It's good exercise. They say that's one of the things that you need. If you're going to retire, you need to make sure you have a plan of action so that you'll be doing some stuff to keep your body moving. Because if you don't use it, you lose it. And it's just, it didn't have to be the same plan as everybody else. Some people even decide after they retire they're going to go back to work for various reasons. But working hard gives you a sense of satisfaction, plus it exercises your body because you have to move to do whatever it is you're doing. And some jobs exercise your brain more than others, but hey, it's all exercise of one kind of another, and it's good. And you will be blessed for your hard effort and your hard work. Whereas the one who sits around and plays video games all day and doesn't have time or energy to go out and do what he needs to do, he's not going to be blessed with things that take care of him and his family. All right. Miss Josie, would you read verses 6 and 7 for me, please?
Okay. Blessings are upon the head of the just, but violence covereth the mouth of the wicked. The memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot.
In a business, I don't know, I should give you a chance to say what you want to say. But part of what I get out of this, not all of it, is in a business, if you want to stay in business, you've got to have a good reputation. And when you are a source of blessing to your clients or customers and fellow employees, and the memory of your righteousness makes people want to come back, and repeat business is what keeps you afloat and keeps you going. But if you don't treat people right, it won't be long and you'll be out of business. Anyway, I should have let
No, that's fine.
do you have anything to add to that? Because there's other stuff in there. It's just that's what hit me the most.
No, that's good.
How about you, Dave?
Well, the verse kind of says it all.
Okay. Reva? Do you have anything to add? Amen. That is so true. All right, Mr. Dave, can we get you to read verses 8 and 9?
Verse 8 in the King James Version, the wise in heart will receive commandments, but a prating fool shall fall. Verse 9, he that walketh uprightly walketh surely, but he that perverteth his ways shall be known.
Okay. You've got any comments on that?
has a choice to do God's way or their own way, and the whole Bible's full of examples, and parents today should be telling kids the same thing. You know, you do something that's not God's way, you're gonna fail. You're gonna end up going down the wrong road and have all kinds of problems and whatever. And verse 9. If you're walking in God's ways, you have a pretty good foundation, which everything needs a foundation in life, and if you have God's foundation, then it's going to work. But if you go a different way, like it says, but he that perverteth his ways shall be known. So everybody's going to talk about it. What these people did.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody likes bad news or something, so it gets around. But everybody will remember someone who does good.
Yes.
Everybody will remember them throughout history.
Rita, you and Josie have any other comments? I skipped 10. It kind of... Oh, get the mic from Josie.
He that winketh with his eye causeth sorrow, but a prating fool shall fall. The mouth of a righteous man is a well of life, but violence covereth the mouth of the wicked. That verse 10 where you see somebody wink with their eye after they've said something, you don't know whether to trust them or not. That's something I've kind of found in my life, because you don't know if they're joking or they're just showing off or fooling.
Right. I know when you put all the verses together that we've read so far, including especially the two Dave read and the ones you just read, what comes out in that, it kind of makes me, there are people who many times get labeled correctly as unteachable. And that's because they have this I know it all attitude, and they're not open to learn what the Bible has to say because they know it already, they think. And those people have a rough time in life as well, and they don't understand why they have such a rough time. But I think God uses his scriptures. He uses each person. We all have areas that we excel in, and we can teach others in that area, and bless them in that area. But if the others will receive it. But if they think they're too good to learn anything because they think they know it all, they're arrogant and foolish, and they don't always do what's right. They don't like it if somebody mentions that that's not right. So they're not willing to change if they're doing something wrong. Then it's very likely that they will come to ruin one way or another. So all right, I think I'm going to read a couple of verses from the Amplified. Verse 12, hatred stirs up strife, but love covers and overwhelms all transgressions, forgiving and overlooking another's faults. Pardon? I think Reva already read it.
The rest of that.
And she just didn't say 11, I
Yeah.
don't think, but
No,
she
I
she
didn't.
read it, yeah. Y'all are trying to keep me in line, aren't you? I need somebody to do that. And then 13 says, on the lips of the discerning, skillful, and godly wisdom is found, but discipline and the rod are for the back of one who is without common sense and understanding. So, see what I mean by over and over again we're hearing different ways to say, be wise. Be wise in what you do. Be wise in what you say. Be wise in what you are. And have high integrity. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If something happens that prevents you from doing it, well then call the person you made the promise to and tell them, I'm sorry, I can't do what I thought I could do, and so I won't be able to do it. You know, don't just let them hang there and wonder. And, you know, these are all things that all of us here today know, but it's good to go over it again. And I notice there are things in scriptures that he says over and over and over and over again, just different ways. You know, God through these men and God by himself. And, you know, I think it's because sometimes there's a lot of aspects to everything he says, and we're only getting part of it. We're not getting it all. And sometimes it takes years of hearing the same thing over and over again before we do get something. Some of these things, at least that's been true for me. There's been times I've read something and I go, what? I know I've read this several times. I didn't get that out of it before. And God had brought a new understanding about it. So if y'all get any new understandings, please share with the rest of us. That God's the one that gives us common sense. And I don't know about you, but I've witnessed so many people that have no common sense. Or if they do, they refuse to use it. I don't know. I don't know which way it is. I just know that when they don't use common sense, it usually causes them problems, and sometimes it causes somebody else problems. Alrighty. Mr. Day, will you read 14 and 15?
Verse 14 from the King James. Wise men lay up knowledge, but the mouth of foolish is near destruction. Verse 15. The rich man's wealth is his strong city. The destruction of the poor is their poverty.
Would you like to comment on that?
Well, you know, the person with knowledge probably doesn't say a whole lot until it's needed, and the foolish, they're just, you know, they're just yakking away, causing all kinds of mischief or whatever, saying whatever. The rich man's wealth is a strong city. Well, I guess you can have a lot of success and do a lot of things with money and prosperity and all that kind of stuff. Money, you can do things with money. The poor, the destruction of the poor is their poverty. Well, I mean, how did you get poor in the first place? You give money to some people. Now, if they didn't earn it, they'll just take that money and just blow it, you know, just spend it any old way, not thinking about the consequences or where they were before that. and then end up in the same situation. And so there's a reason for the rich being rich and the poor being poor, and maybe it also has to do with IQ. You know, I mean, if you don't have the IQ to, you know, the mental health and understanding and common sense, you know, you're going to stay in the poorhouse. If you don't know how to speak English or read and write and whatever, you're not going to get very far.
Especially if you're like the one that it mentioned in a few verses before, that with his mouth he knows it all, and he wasn't willing to learn what would improve what he does or says or you know, whatever in his life. If you're not willing to improve, then
You're going to stay poor.
yeah, it's like it's just not good. Okay.
Did he just read that? Did he read 15?
Yeah, she read
Yeah.
15. Are you ready to read 16 and 17, or did you have a comment?
No, I have a comment.
Okay.
And two, you know, the rich, I've seen rich people manipulate people with their money, and and it can go to destruction in their life, you know, because they're buying everything. They're not trusting in the Lord, you know, for anything. They're just using their money to manipulate everything.
So they need to use it wisely in order to continue to be rich and successful.
And it doesn't, you know, buy health or anything, you know, it's just money. You know. Okay, 16.
16 and 17, if you would.
The labor of the righteous tendeth to life, the fruit of the wicked to sin. He is in the way of life that keepeth instruction, but he that refuseth reproof erreth. That means that, you know, that we can, you know, our labor can go far, you know, and it gives us life, you know. And the wicked, if he just uses the fruit of what he does for wickedness, you know, it tends to sin. I don't know. And if they don't listen to somebody that's wise and get reproved, you know, and set on the right direction, then some of them just don't even listen, you know, and so they erreth and they don't get anywhere.
This is true. Got any more comments, anybody? Yeah, I think she pretty well summarized it. I mean, it's amazing to me. When I first started working at Walmart, and I don't remember who taught me this. It was somebody who was a supervisor of some kind over me. But they said one of their jobs was to constantly be on the outlook for areas that had opportunities for improvement. No matter who they were talking about or what they were talking about, that was part of their job. And I think that's part of every person that loves the Lord, that wants to be successful to the point of not to get a big famous name, but so that they are able to do whatever God would have them to do. Because almost everything we do nowadays costs money. So, you know, there are ways to do things without the money, but it's hard. But if we use our money the way God wants us to, it will accomplish a lot for the kingdom, and it will give us opportunities to help those that cannot help themselves. So I think that that's our job too. Every area of our life, whether we're talking about money, relationships, spiritual, every area, we need to be constantly aware that there might be an opportunity for an area to show up that we could improve on, and we need to be open for God, the Holy Spirit's leading to improve on that. Because when we improve on whatever it is, it's going to improve our life. It's going to improve our soul and our, in our spirit, and it's going to improve our witness to those in the world. So you can't go wrong with that. So many of the things it says in Proverbs applies to every area of our life, doesn't it? I forgot whose turn it was. I've been going. Is it Reva's turn to read? Okay, she needs the mic again. We're just having all kinds of fun passing this mic around. Will you do 18 and 19, please?
18 and 19.
Yeah.
Before I start reading,
okay.
I want to say this. If y'all ever notice these people that are running for the presidency, always complaining about, they all got money, and they're it's just plain funny to acting worse than a bunch of small children, and they're 70s, 60s, and 70 years old. And hey, they just make a new law, and they all agree to it, and so that makes it what they're doing. Yeah, but anyway, it's funny. But
it's funny, but not funny.
It's funny, but not funny. And they're trying their best to beat Trump, and they don't realize that God had put Trump in there, and they wouldn't believe it if somebody told them that. I don't think, and they still think that they can beat God in His plans for this country, and it is nonsense.
It is.
What was 17, 18?
No, I think
18, 19. He that hideth hatred with lying lips, and he that uttereth a slander is a fool.
That's kind of that's agreeing with what you just told about.
In the multitude of words there wanteth not sin, but he that refraineth his lips is wise. Refraineth.
He's had a lot fired at him.
He's done a little bit himself, but
Who?
Trump.
Oh, Trump. Oh. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think
he's quit.
I think he realized and
Yeah.
he
He didn't know.
That's a wise person too. When you
Yeah.
realize that something you have
quit.
been doing is not working or is not the
Right.
best way to do things or whatever, to stop doing it and be corrected and go do a better way.
I think he was corrected, actually.
Could be.
In that.
But a foolish person would, out of pride, continue to think he's right and do whatever he wanted to do anyway, no matter how.
Right. So he quit it. He did quit it. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. He's got
That-
good Christian advisors.
Right. That's
Yeah.
counseled with him and stuff.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's great. And I understand his wife is a devout Christian,
Yeah.
and she's a good wife to him. She's helps keep him in line. God gave that woman to him to keep him in line.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh well. Anyway, I'm glad he put them together. They make a good team.
Yeah.
Okay. Josie, you want to read verse
20.
20 and 21?
Mhm. The tongue of the just is as choice silver. The heart of the wicked is a little worth. The lips of the righteous feed many, but fools die for want of wisdom.
Hmm. You got any comments about that?
That just shows that our mouth can do wonderful things too, and turn it around. And the righteous feed many with their mouth, they can. And fools die for want of wisdom, so their words don't mean anything. I mean, it can be destructive, but I mean, you got to choose anyway.
It's true. Dave, you got any comments on that?
The righteous and the just, they're not they don't have the need to defend themselves, because they're doing the right thing. But the unjust, the wicked, they're always spewing lies because they're coming against somebody,
That's true.
and they don't need to defend themselves. It's always the innocent people that have to defend themselves later. So
Okay, how
that's all.
about, will you read verses 22 and 23, Mr. Dave?
King James, verses 22. The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it. 23. It is as sport to a fool to do mischief, but a man of understanding hath wisdom.
Do you have any comment about that?
Well, I mean,
It's okay if you don't.
if
I mean, it's okay.
yeah, it is as sport to a fool to do mischief. Well, everything seems to be fun for those who are, picking on people or causing problems for other people, using other people to have fun, laughing and whatever. I mean, it's just this is just all about the opposite of knowledge. Either you have the knowledge of God or not, and then you're doing your own thing. You're just left to your own devices or ways. And there's this one. There's these. They call them TikTok challenge or whatever, and they're just social media stuff, and people are daring other people type of things, I dare you to do this or whatever, eat this or whatever. And this one where they get one person in the middle of two other people and they're jumping. They're side by side, and the two first jump up and down to show the middle one what to do. And then they stop, and then they tell the one in the middle, okay, you jump up and down. So as soon as they jump up, they kick the feet out from the middle one, and they fall on their back, and someone has already died from hitting their head, and lots of injuries and stuff. So there you go. There's the sport of the fool to do mischief.
Yeah, I think basically when we pray and do things God's way, in His wisdom and integrity, we're blessed in every way, not just in money, but in every way. And the opposite is true too. When someone just refuses wisdom and they chase after sin and doing wrong things, it causes all kinds of destruction, and not just for themselves, but for everybody they come across. Okay, Miss Reva, is it your turn? I think it's your turn. You want to read verses 24 and 25? Oh, I didn't, did I? All right, I'll read 24 and 25, and then we'll go from there. Okay. What the wicked, this is the Amplified Bible. What the wicked fears will come upon him, but the desire of the righteous for the blessings of God will be granted. Verse 25, when the whirlwind passes, the wicked is no more, but the righteous has an everlasting foundation. Hallelujah. We know who our strong tower is. We know who holds the world in His hands. We know who made the world. We know who gave His only begotten Son for the world. We know who has all the answers. And so God is our righteous foundation. Miss Reva, I believe Josie is trying to hand you the mic so you can read 26 and 27.
Let's see. From where?
26 and 27.
26. As vinegar to the teeth and as smoke to the eyes, so is the sluggard to them that send him. The fear of the Lord prolongeth days, but the years of the wicked shall be shortened. That pretty well speaks for itself. I mean,
Yeah,
the
it
real
does.
word.
It does.
Vinegar is for the teeth and smoke to the eyes.
Sting the eyes and teeth, and there's probably a spiritual aspect of the teeth. I'm not sure, but I do know that if you're in business and you hire somebody to do something and they are lazy and they don't do what they're supposed to, it stings, so to speak, because it hurts your business. It hurts your reputation and everything to have one employee that's not doing his job or her job. And yeah, that's true. One bad attitude can ruin the attitude of the whole business and cause it to go downhill in many ways. All right, Miss. Does anybody else have any comments on those two? might need the mic.
This man that worked there, he got fired or quit. I think he got fired or something. Anyway, he lost his job, and he went and got a gun and went back and shot, I think 3 or 4 people today. You hear so much of that. I mean, and
People don't want to take ownership of their own wrongdoing in this,
Yeah.
so they take it out on other people.
that's right. And it's terrible. You hear that so often anymore.
It's sad.
Yeah, that's all you hear is the bad parts. They'll never show you in the news about all the people that have saved people with a gun, which is more than what people are doing with guns to take people's lives.
Well, there are occasionally a newsworthy article or whatever that they'll either print or say on TV on certain stations that has, and it may not involve guns at all, but it'll be about somebody who did something that was good for
There
somebody.
was somebody on TV
And
today.
I wish they'd have more of those.
Well, this guy had a gun, and this little guy, I guess he was breaking into his car, and he shot him, and didn't kill him. He just, shot him, and the police came, and now they're thinking they don't know if they're going to charge the man for shooting a guy for getting in his car.
Now that's
So
twisted.
that's not very.
I know a woman who spent some time in jail because
he didn't kill the guy,
right. Well, I know a woman who
but that's
was put in.
protecting his property,
Yeah, I know a woman who was trying to protect herself
Yeah.
and ended up in prison because she shot the person who was attacking her, and she shot him twice. They didn't die, but she shot him. And anyway, I don't know all the details. I just know that that's just not right. She was defending herself. So
unless they're breaking in your house and they're in your house, then you can shoot them. But if they're outside your house,
yeah, and I don't know the details to know whether the situation was like that or not. I just know when we take our educational videos or that computer training that we do where I work, they have one that is in regards to if a shooter comes into the store and starts shooting, what to do. And they say, first you try to avoid them. You try to get away from them.
Yeah, right.
And then you
Run and hide.
But then,
well, you do, and you try to make yourself invisible and try to get out of the building first. But if you can't get out of the building, you try to find a place to hide. You don't let them know where you're at. But anyway, when it all comes down to it, if you've done everything you can do and they still come at you and they're still after you, you have a right to defend yourself.
Yeah.
Well, some cases, like what you mentioned and what I mentioned, it doesn't seem like they had a right to defend themselves, because of what the outcome was. And that's just goes to show that our laws have become perverted and messed up. It's sad.
Okay.
So,
28. 28.
28 and 29, I think.
The hope of the righteous shall be gladness, but the expectation of the wicked shall perish. The way of the Lord is strength to the upright, but destruction shall be to the workers of iniquity.
So here we are. We're kind of repeating the same
Yeah,
things.
right.
Our stronghold comes from God and God's ways. And if we choose not to do it that way, we are open for destruction. And Satan's having a heyday and a party over deal if we choose to go against God. All right. Dave, will you read 30 and 31?
King James James Version, verse 30, the righteous shall never be removed, but the wicked shall not inhabit the earth. Whoa, there's one that goes against the leaving the planet. Verse 31, the mouth of the just bringeth forth wisdom, but the forward tongue shall be cut out. You want me to stop there?
Oh, go ahead and read 32.
32, the lips of the righteous shall, know what is acceptable, but the mouth of the wicked speaketh forwardness.
So the wicked's words are twisted.
Verse, yeah.
Yeah, there's people, I'm sure you all can think of at least one person in your life that you've come across where when they talk, they tell just enough of the truth to get you to believe what they want you to believe is going on, but they don't give you the whole picture.
Right.
They're twisting the
Everything.
truth
Yeah.
for their evil purposes.
Right.
And you have to be wary of them. You have to ask God for discernment with them, because some of them are very tricksy. And, well, just like the scammers, Reba was remarking about some of the scammers, the way they word things, I mean, they sell you, what they're selling you is their perception of truth, which is twisted. And they are very convincing. They know how to word things. I believe that in the Garden of Eden, the serpent knew how to be very convincing to Eve, and he tricked her. And so we need to remind ourselves of that if we don't want to be tricked in any way, shape, or form by the enemy through whoever, we need to trust and obey God. Because if she had trusted and obeyed God instead of letting Satan or the serpent talk her into not trusting and obeying God, then things would have turned out a whole lot different. But anyway, any other comments in regards to that? That's the last verse in Proverbs 10. It's 20 till 9. And we can start chapter 11, or we can postpone it for another time, because it seems like the midweek service, because it's dark out, some of us because of our age, some of us and some of us work before we come. We're out of steam faster than we are on a Sunday morning when we've had a good night's rest the night before we come. And so do you all want to keep going, or you want to wait and do 11 some other time?